Hi, Nathan here. In this video, I really want to talk to you about 5 tips that will help you to break the cycle of repeated mistakes in your life. Now, these are unimaginable strategies, and this is really going to help you to ensure that the reoccurrences of mistakes that happens in your life are eradicated completely. Because most of the time you realize that one thing keeps occurring. You make a mistake today and you vow that tomorrow you are not going to do it again, but you see yourself going back to that mistake each and every time. There's a strategy that you need to use. Most of the time we may vow that, look, I'm not really going to do this again. Excuse me. But you find yourself going back to it over and over again. Now, what can you do to ensure that the very things that you really don't want to do, you keep away from them and they never occur again? A key example is basic overeating. Most of the time you realize that you are putting on weight. You promise yourself, look, I'm not going to eat far more than I'm able to take. But every now and then you realize that you bypass your limit and you eat more than necessary. Sometimes you realize you want to really discipline yourself. You want to work online. You don't want to go to social media. Before you see, you are on TikTok and you are browsing and 1 hour has been carried away and you don't even know where the time has gone. It happens to all of us. I mean, it is not something that, you alone. Before we go further, I want you to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and press the notification bell so you won't miss further episodes and also help my channel grow. Thank you. A culprit. Sometimes certain things that we buy out of not planning. I mean, you just make an impulse decision, and later on you realize that you've wasted so much money and that thing is not really necessary. Sometimes too, we are too much in a hurry and we keep skipping the red light and we say, oh, come on, this thing I'll not do it again, until you've been given a ticket and you swear not to do it again, but you see yourself coming back at the same thing over and over again. There are so many examples that I can keep giving and I will never finish. But these 5 tips that I want to talk about, the first one that I want to say is that stop vowing to never make that mistake again. Don't ever say I will never ever make that mistake again. But this is what I want you to do. Now, make a safety net. Well, what do I mean by a safety net? A safety net is such that, okay, you don't want to skip the traffic light. Anytime you are approaching the traffic light and it turns amber, tell yourself you stop on the amber, but you don't go faster so that you pass through the amber and skip the red. Before you realize you are being given a ticket, the police is after you. Now, if you don't want to eat far more than necessary, you can barely tell yourself, look, I am not going to eat again beyond what I could. But that is not enough, because that is what you say every day. Then before you realize you are doing it again. But this is what I want you to do. Now, plan such that you don't keep so much food around you that will not encourage you to eat far more than you have to. Now, let me give you my personal example. Now, this is what I do. If I realize I don't want to eat far more than I have to, I use a smaller plate. Now, there's no way I could load the plate far more than the plate could take. So inadvertently, you realize that the plate is so small and I'll vow never to go for a second. So after consuming what that plate could carry, that is all that I need to take. Let's say you also realize that you spend more than necessary each time you go out shopping or each time you go out to town. Now, tell yourself this basic thing. If you know you don't want to spend more than maybe a 50 quid or 100 quid, ensure that when you are going, you only carry that amount of money. And any other thing that will attract you, make sure you don't go for it. Keep your phone and your credit card or your any other payment online away, and ensure that you are not using more than you really want to do. By just saying that, oh, I vow never to spend more than necessary, that is not enough, because you could carry money on you and the next thing you see is that you spent far more than you ever could. Now, the second point that I want to give you is that I want you to develop a strategy for prevention. Now, what do I mean by strategy for prevention? Let's say you want to go off drinking sodas. I mean, how do you prevent it? Don't tell yourself from today I'm not going to drink soda again, but ensure that you can't find any soda drink in your fridge. Don't keep any soda drink near you. When it's given to you as a gift, give it out immediately before you get to your location or your home. Now, when you do that, you are practicing prevention, and that can really help you much more. Now, there are certain foods probably you don't want to eat. You know, they are loaded with either carbohydrate or fat, and you really want to lose weight. Now, what is a simple thing that you need to do? Never carry such foods to your home. Never dream of this, say, oh, let me take it, I'll give it out. No, don't take it at all, but go home and make sure you never have anything like that. When you do that, you are practicing prevention strategy, and that will help you to really prevent yourself from doing the things that you really don't want to do. Now, I want you to know also that the number 3 that I want to talk about is that I want you to put aside time and mental strategy. Now, what do you mean by that? Mental strategy and mental energy. Now, all these things that I'm saying takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of putting things together to ensure that which you said you don't want to happen will never happen again. Now, if you don't put time together to really strategize and plan these things, you will find yourself wanting. Let's say you don't want to go on crackers, or you don't want to take sodas, or you don't want to eat past lunch. Now, you can only achieve this aim if you really sit and plan. So what will go into the planning? Probably before you leave home, you can plan what you are going to eat for lunch, or take it along with you. And then you also know that you don't want to eat late. You don't want to eat past lunch. So don't wait until lunchtime is due before you struggle to get out of the office or get out of where you are located. But one thing you can do is 30 minutes before the time, break whatever you are doing and plan into your lunch period. Now, this means that you are setting aside mental energy and time to ensure that the very thing that you do not want to do never happens. Now, the 4th point that I want to give you is that I want you to develop a strategy for harm minimization. Now, what do I mean by harm minimization? Now, you want to lower the risk of getting yourself into that which you don't want to do. Now, it is not for nothing that it is said that if you are on drugs and you use needle, you better use a clean needle, or maybe a needle that is straight from a pack. Now, what this means is that we are not encouraging you to actually be on drugs, but we know that prevention is better, because if you use a better or a clean needle, you are saving yourself from other diseases, quite apart from the fact that the drug may also destroy your life. So what do I mean by developing a strategy for harm minimization? You need to minimize the prevalent of that which you don't want to happen. You need to think back to, let's say binging or maybe over hungry. Perhaps it's the same thing that I gave you earlier on. Your strategy for when this happened might be to start your lunch by eating earlier. When you are doing that, you're also developing a strategy for harm minimization. Make sure you put things in place to minimize that which can happen to you, and you'll be much more. Now, the last one that I want to state is that understand your irrelevant decisions. I mean, now what do I mean? I mean, decisions that are not really relevant to that which you are about to discuss. For example, you are currently cutting back on overeating. You plan to host a party, and although you know after the party there will be a lot of leftovers, and you'll be tempted to feed on the food that was left. Now, you need to do your planning in such a way that you are trying to take an irrelevant decision. You know that when you take that decision of having a party, you end up having a lot of food around you, and you need to consume this food, and that is not going to help you. And you know that decision you are taking is not quite relevant. Now, let's say you make a seemingly irrelevant situation that's really sabotage you, or sabotage the way you think and do things. It is quite simple. Let's say you enroll your child in a school. Now, this school may be junctions or miles away from your home, and you know that you are going to struggle through traffic before you can get her there every morning. Now, the decision of placing her in such a school becomes an irrelevant decision, because you need to face the fact of traveling or moving her every morning, which may cause you to be late. So these decisions are quite important, and you need to fight and make sure you don't make them. So these are my 5 decisions that I believe when you touch on, they will help you greatly in making sure that you don't repeat some of the mistakes mistakes that you keep repeating in your life. So I want to take this seriously and knock them, practice them, and I know you'll be much better. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.